In a shocking turn of events, Kier Starmer, leader of the UK Labour Party, has recently taken steps that many believe threaten the very foundations of democracy. Starmer's actions, which include banning a popular petition for a new general election and discussing potential arrest warrants for anyone involved in promoting or signing it, have ignited fierce debate across the UK. What was once a bastion of free speech is now seeing its rights being questioned, and the government's approach to handling public dissent is raising alarm bells for democracy's future in the country. The triggering of the petition. At the heart of the controversy is a petition that has been gaining traction among the British public. This petition, which calls for a new general election, has garnered over 2 million signatures, a reflection of the growing discontent with Starmer's government. But rather than responding to the concerns of the people, Starmer's response has been anything but democratic. Rather than engage with the issues raised in the petition, he has taken an authoritarian stance, suggesting that those who support it are engaging in antisocial behavior. The petition, driven by public frustration over Starmer's policies, is not merely a political statement, it's a cry for accountability. From rising crime rates to unfair fiscal policies, many British citizens are tired of feeling unheard and unrepresented. Starmer's leadership has been criticized for being out of touch, and this petition is a direct manifestation of the public's desire for change. So, what does Starmer do in response to this call for a new election? He doesn't address the grievances, but rather he silences them. The assault on free speech. The UK has long been known for its strong tradition of free speech, a pillar of its democratic identity. However, Starmer's actions seem to contradict this principle. The government has moved to suppress public dissent, a move that has left many citizens wondering if their fundamental rights are being trampled upon. By threatening to arrest individuals who sign the petition or engage with it online, Starmer is essentially criminalizing democracy itself. What happened to the right to peacefully protest, to express dissatisfaction with the government's actions? These are basic rights that are meant to be protected, not punished. The petition in question is not just a political tool. It represents a growing national frustration with a government that seems more concerned with maintaining power than with addressing the concerns of its citizens. The rise of over 2 million signatures is a testament to how deep this dissatisfaction runs, and yet Starmer's response has been to ignore the people's calls for change. Instead of working to address the issues raised by the petitioners, he seeks to silence them. A dangerous precedent. It's not just the petition that's causing an uproar. It's the implications of the actions Starmer's government is taking. Reports suggest that the Labour Party is considering the use of respect orders, a legal tool from the Anti-Social Behaviour Crime and Policing Act of 2014, to target anyone bold enough to express dissatisfaction with the government. This law was originally intended to deal with genuine nuisances like street brawls or vandalism, not political protest. The fact that the government is considering using such measures to suppress political dissent should send chills down the spine of anyone who cares about the future of democracy. The implications of such a move are far-reaching. If Starmer succeeds in framing political opposition as antisocial behavior, it would set a dangerous precedent for the future. In a country that prides itself on democratic values, this would mark a shift towards authoritarianism, where dissent is not tolerated and the government can act without fear of accountability. The very idea that signing a petition could lead to arrest is nothing short of alarming. A nation divided. What's even more striking is the growing unity among those who are affected by Starmer's actions. This petition is not just drawing the typical opposition voices, but a wide range of people from all walks of life. Former Labour supporters, middle-class families, rural voters, and business owners are all joining in the collective outcry against the government's handling of the situation. These are the very groups that Starmer likely thought would have his back, and yet they are now vocal in their dissatisfaction. This is no longer a matter of political affiliation, it's about a leadership that has become so disconnected from the people it serves that it might as well be from another planet. As public frustration grows, so too does the sense that the government is turning a blind eye to the reality facing millions of people. From policies that punish struggling farmers to the erosion of vital social services. Starmer's government has failed to address the core issues that are affecting people's daily lives. The petition, which now boasts over 2 million signatures, is not just a minor protest, it is a resounding message from the people, demanding change and accountability. The real impact of Starmer's policies. To truly understand the gravity of this situation, we need to take a closer look at the policies that have sparked such outrage. For many, the trigger for this petition is the sense that their livelihoods, homes, and futures are being threatened. From cuts to winter fuel allowances to inheritance taxes that cripple struggling farmers, Starmer's policies have left many people feeling abandoned by the very government that is supposed to serve them. These are not just abstract political issues, they are real, personal struggles. When farmers face financial ruin because of tax hikes, or when families are forced to choose between heating their homes and feeding their children, the consequences are immediate and devastating. This is the reality that millions of people across the UK are living with, and yet their concerns are being dismissed as nothing more than political noise. The government's refusal to acknowledge these issues and instead label petitioners as criminals is a slap in the face to every person affected by these policies. The growing backlash. The backlash against Starmer's actions is growing louder with each passing day. Opposition MPs are seizing on this opportunity to criticize Starmer's handling of the situation, calling him out for his failure to listen to the public. The mood in the country has shifted from disappointment to outright rage, and it's clear that Starmer's leadership is under intense scrutiny. Yet despite this, the government remains eerily silent. There have been no clarifications, no reassurances, just an ominous quiet that suggests the powers that be are determined to double down on their approach, no matter how unpopular it may be. This silence is deeply concerning, as it sends a clear message that the government has no intention of addressing the very real concerns of the people. Instead of opening a dialogue and working towards solutions, Starmer's response has been to shut down dissent and intimidate those who dare to speak out. This approach is not just bad for democracy, it's dangerous for the future of the UK as a free and open society. A history of suppression. Starmer's tactics are not entirely new. Throughout history, when the government feels threatened by public discontent, it has often resorted to repression. One need only look back to the 1819 Peterloo massacre, where peaceful protesters demanding basic parliamentary reform were met with armed forces and left bleeding in the streets. Fast forward to the 2009 G20 protests, where police overreach became a defining moment in the public's trust in law enforcement. The pattern is clear. When the government feels its grip on power slipping, it resorts to force in an attempt to quell the rising tide of discontent. Now, instead of using force in the traditional sense, the government is using legal loopholes to silence its critics. The threat of arrest for signing a petition is the modern-day equivalent of using force to silence the people. It's a chilling reminder of how easily democracy can slip away when those in power are willing to trample on basic rights to maintain control. The endangerment of human rights. What is perhaps most troubling is the potential violation of human rights that these actions represent. Under Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, citizens are guaranteed the right to freedom of expression. This includes the right to protest, to speak out against the government, and to participate in democratic processes like petitions. But now, in what feels like a deliberate attempt to undermine these rights, the government is using the threat of arrest to stifle dissent. In a country that prides itself on upholding democratic values and human rights, this is a betrayal of the very principles that should guide government action. By threatening to criminalize those who sign a petition or engage in political discourse, Starmer's government is eroding the rights that millions of people fought for. The chilling effect of such actions is clear. Why bother speaking out if the result could be a visit from the local authorities? Conclusion: the future of UK democracy. In conclusion, the situation in the UK is dire. What began as a petition calling for a new general election has now become a battle for the very soul of democracy. The government's attempt to silence its critics, whether through legal threats or outright suppression, is a dangerous precedent that could have far-reaching consequences for the future of the country. As the public grows more frustrated and angry, it's clear that Starmer's government has lost touch with the very people it is meant to serve.